Hi, it's Margaret, and thank you so much for joining me here on the Gardening Me on another not too shabby day for beginning of March. I mentioned the trial and display gardens at William Dam Seeds in my last video, and I try to get out there each and every summer because I find it is so inspiring. All the things they grow, a lot of new things that I've never seen before, new varieties, and it really does give me so many great ideas about what I want to try in my garden, both in terms of combinations as well as new plants. My most recent tour was last September when Connie Bilge, who's a member of the Dam family, gave a few GardenCom members a tour of the display gardens in the front, which is the public area, and then also in the back where they do a lot of trial gardens. Now, it was around mid-September, and it was definitely the latest I had ever gone to see their trial gardens, so it's basically at the tail end of the season. But I'll tell you, there were so many gorgeous things still blooming, you could barely tell it was that far along. So let's get on with the tour. The display gardens at William Dam Seeds are at the front of the property, and this is where Connie has fun with plant groupings and different themes. As you enter the driveway, you're greeted with an amazing display. The first thing that struck me was that glorious grass, and that is feathertop grass, and the variety name is Fluffy. It's classified as a tender perennial, and I did a bit of Googling and it looks like it's hardy down to about zone 9. I'm also loving the short variety of verbena, and this is Vanity. It's just beautiful with the grasses in the background and then those gorgeous marigolds in the front. I did try orange gem this year in my garden and I really loved it. Then there's the tall ball marigolds in the middle, and I'm pretty sure those are cocoa yellow. Now, one thing that really caught my eye as soon as I got there was this guy, and this is Partridge Pea. It's a quick growing native annual that attracts a lot of bees and butterflies, and the birds also enjoy the seed pods. It's a legume, so that means it fixes nitrogen in the soil, so it has that going for it as well. And when you touch the leaves, they fold up. So cute. This is the reason behind its other common name, because it's also known as the sensitive plant. So here is pretty much an innocuous bundle of foliage, but the leaves on the right are Chrysanthemum Coronarium. It's also known as garden serrata chrysanthemum, and it's actually an edible chrysanthemum. I had a taste, of course, and found the leaves to be quite mild and pleasantly flavored, and the texture is a little bit succulent. It was really quite nice. If you let the plant grow, it gets to be pretty tall, about 4 feet or so, and the stems are topped with these pretty yellow single flowers. Now, the main All-America Selections trial garden is at the back of the property, but they do have a small display garden in the front. And since we are almost at the end of the season, many of the plants are past their prime, but there are still a few that are chugging along, including this sun coral candy coleus. It's a little bit bleached out, but I'm actually impressed that it looks this good because this is a full sun spot. And look at that Tithonia. This is Fiesta del Sol. I really have to add more to the garden. The butterflies love this plant. This is the perennial bed grown for the Perennial Plant Association, and there are also a few annuals in here because it's also a Flora Select display bed. This bed truly floored me because everything you see was grown from seed this year. This bed is just jam-packed. There are about 100 different varieties of perennials in here. And the plants were started indoors around March or April, then transplanted into the bed at the end of May. And as you can see, the vast majority of them are first-year blooming. It is just incredible. There were numerous echinacea in the bed, including this yellow ombre echinacea. Here's Prima Donna Deep Rose, and I actually did winter sow some of these this year. And here we see a bunch of Allen's Pride, which I also winter sowed. And this one here is Pow Wow Wildberry. Look how vibrant the colors are on that one. I think I might have to pick some seed up for that one as well. These tall blue delphiniums are Guardian Guinevere. They read sort of purplish on camera, but in person they actually lean more towards the blue. And look at these guys. This short variety is Jenny's Pearl Blue. I mean, wow, that color is so vibrant. And this one, it blooms all season long if you keep up with the deadheading. Now here's a bunch of Agastache, and this one is Arizona Mix. Bees are loving it. Then beside it is a much taller variety, and this one is called Estello Indigo. I did grow this one last year. I don't think mine bloomed though, so hopefully this year. And here we have, of course, Golden Jubilee, and even though the blooms are pretty much done, that foliage is still so beautiful. That chartreusey color, it just really stands out in the garden. Here we have the purple garden, where Connie planted all things purple. Live the Garden Life is a Canadian program meant to inspire and educate people on the positive impacts of gardens and gardening, and each year they have a theme. And in 2023, they invited Canadians to plant purple, as purple is said to have a positive impact on your psyche, including calming the mind and lifting the spirits. One of the first things that caught my eye in this bed was the heliotrope marine. The color is out of this world. It's an annual, and it was just buzzing with bees. Now beside it was sprouting broccoli, and it's called Burgundy Hybrid. This was sort of a surprise for me, as I normally only ever see sprouting broccoli being grown in the UK, as it needs a very long, sort of cool growing season. In the UK, they normally start it in the fall and they harvest it the following year. This is a variety that can be grown all season long here in Ontario, and it was obviously successful. I love the purple annual salvia here. This is Victoria. This is Gomphrena Fireworks. And this is why they call it fireworks. I would consider the Gomphrena more pink than purple, but that's okay. It looks amazing beside the salvia. And here we have dark blue Panther Nepeta right at the tail end of its growing season here. This is a familiar face because I grew it in my garden this year as well from seed, and it did bloom in the first year. And smack dab in the middle of the bed is an obelisk with a couple of annual vines. There is Ruby Moon Hyacinth Bean, and it's mixed in with Cup and Saucer Vine Cathedral Bells. But the Cathedral Bells has basically taken over the entire obelisk. I'm really looking forward to growing the Cup and Saucer Vine this year. I've never done that before, so this is what made me decide to purchase those seeds. So let's head back to the front of the property and what I think is the pièce de résistance of the display gardens. Connie did two glorious plantings in this area that were subtly different. The circle bed that we looked at right at the beginning combined the feathertop grass and the vanity verbena with the bright yellows of two different marigolds. Closer to the street is another huge bed, and she switched things up a little bit here. She did the same feathertop grass fluffy and vanity verbena, but this time the yellow comes from Rudbeckia Prairie Sun and a different marigold, Alumia Vanilla Cream. Now we're going to head to the back of the property where they trial numerous ornamentals as well as all of the new vegetable varieties. The trials are an important aspect of how William Dam operates, as decisions about whether or not to stock a particular variety are often based on the results of these trials. So of course the first thing we were drawn to were the pigs. They are so sweet. Now what happens here is the pigs eat, of course, the greens in the section where they're at, and their diet is also supplemented by vegetables like tomatoes, and then their manure basically amends the soil in that area. The fence is portable, so it gets moved around the field. The structure in the middle, that big black thing, is an old feed trough that they cut a hole in, and it provides a really nice cozy spot for the pigs to sleep in. Before heading to the flower trials, we took a peek at a few of the veggies. You couldn't walk by this ginormous cabbage without stopping, and this is Gunma hybrid cabbage, and it was huge. And then we get to this, and you may think, what on earth is that, right? It is actually called jacaranda broccoli, and it's a cross between cauliflower and broccoli, and it's grown for its purple heads. It forms a compact head, but this is later in the season when it's much, much looser. And what really struck me was the form. Normally, by the time broccoli looks like this, with all the stems stretched out, it basically bursts into flowers. You don't usually see it still in bud form at this stage. Not only that, but I snapped off a stem and I tasted it right there and then, and it was still tender and delicious, even at that stage. And I mean, what can you say but wow when you take a look at this cauliflower? I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but I will put the name of it on the screen. Now we're in the flower trial section, and we're in the celosia area. On the right, you have a celosia that has much paler leaves, but the plumes are a gorgeous bicolor, and this one is flamingo feather. I grew this variety this year, but I don't know, for me, it just didn't do that well. Certainly not as well as this. It might have been an issue with the location, so I'll be giving it another go this year and we'll see what happens. The celosia on the left has much darker foliage, and I really like how the pale pink plumes on that one contrast with that dark foliage. And here we have a couple more varieties of celosia from the Selway series. On the right is terracotta and on the left is white. So here's another celosia. This one is Dragon's Breath, and those leaves are insane, as is the price tag. This is a super expensive celosia. It's an All America Selections trial plant, and I think Connie said that she would probably put 8 seeds in a $5 packet. I would grow this guy just for the foliage, but the plumes are very feathery and gorgeous as well. Here are the Lisianthus trials. Look at the gorgeous purple on this one. This is Corelli Lavender. And here we have some annual Salvia. This one is called Blue Better. And it has gorgeous blooms, and it's also really tall for a salvia. It's about 4 feet tall or so. I think I need this one in my garden as well. Okay, the eucalyptus. They were trialing 12 species of eucalyptus. And the very first one that caught my eye was this guy here. And look how huge it is. I would say it's closing in on 5 feet tall. I'm not sure how to pronounce the name, but I will put it on the screen. Look at those tinges of orange and reds on those leaves that are almost, I don't know, they have a translucent quality to them. Then, on the other end of the spectrum is Moon Lagoon, and this one barely tops out at 12 inches tall with teeny tiny leaves. The other one I quite liked was this one. It's called Heartleaf Mali, and that gorgeous shape and the gray-green color is just striking. This is Honolulu mix nasturtium, and it forms a gorgeous mound. Now, what's interesting about this one is I've only ever seen that flower shape on a nasturtium on the climbing nasturtiums. Now sunflowers. I particularly love the pale yellow on the one with the dark center on the left, which I believe is ice cream. Desert Sun is a huge sunflower. The plants are easily 10 feet tall, and the flower heads range in size from around 4 inches to as big as 8 or 9 inches wide. Now we're going to go back to the front of the property, and right at the front of the store they have this big kind of porch, and to the right of the porch they have a bunch of potted plant trials. And the very first one that we took a look at was this one, and this is Stonehenge light pink bronze leaf hybrid begonia. This huge plant is grown from seed, and there are only about 3 plants in this container, and it measures about 18 inches across. The plants themselves are in the range of 2.5 feet tall. It's just crazy. This one here is Kfia Sweettalk, and Connie said she was probably going to be getting this one in, as it's amazing as a potted plant. The blooms sort of resemble pelargonium blooms. It's beautiful. And look at these tuberous begonias. These are all started from seed. I am just amazed. There is Limitless Sunset. On top, Surprise. And on top, Polka Dot. This is the Griffin Rex begonia. So, of course, I oohed and awed about this Rex begonia, and I did end up purchasing seeds for it. We'll see if mine ends up looking this glorious. I really, really hope so. And this one here, I didn't get a variety name, but it looks like a winged begonia, I guess. It's just beautiful. And those blooms, it's so floriferous, and the shape of the blooms, I just loved it. And now we're back at the front. I loved this whole front area so much that I went back several times while I was there. And if you saw my seed haul video, you'll know that I did pick up packets of both the feathertop grass and the vanity verbena. This was only a small snapshot of the gardens. Our tour lasted well over 2 hours, and we still didn't manage to see everything. I hope that this video inspired you, not only to add a few things to your own grow list next year, but also to visit the William Dam Trial and Display Gardens when you're in the area. It is so well worth the detour. Thank you so much for joining me today, and we will see you next time. Bye!